We do have, of course, a special relationship with our friends in the UK and also with some of our European allies. But we also know that there have been infringements on free speech that actually affect not just the British. Of course, what the British do in their own country is up to them, but also affect American technology companies and by extension, American citizens. So that is something that we'll talk about today at lunch.
We've had free speech for a very, very long time in the United Kingdom, and it will last for a very, very long time.
You don't agree with that, is that?
Well, no, I mean, certainly we wouldn't want to reach across US citizens, and we don't, and that's absolutely why. But in relation to free speech in the UK, I'm very proud of our history there.
It's a political collision that nobody saw coming, a clash of worlds so stark it feels ripped from a satirical screenplay. In one corner, you have the man almost certain to be Britain's next prime minister, a figure so meticulously crafted for inoffensiveness that he seems to absorb light from any room he enters. In the other, an unlikely tag team, the world's most popular podcaster, a man who built an empire on unfiltered authenticity, and a powerful US senator, a populist firebrand who sees the world in black and white. When Joe Rogan and JD Vance turned their analytical gaze across the Atlantic to Keir Starmer, they didn't just offer criticism, they performed a public autopsy on a political career, exposing a shocking, hollow emptiness at the very core of modern leadership. What they revealed has left the world asking a deeply unsettling question. Is Britain about to be run by a ghost in a suit?
I was talking with a friend recently, and we were talking about, one of the big dangers in the world, of course, is nuclear proliferation, though, of course, the Biden administration doesn't care about it. And I was talking about, what is the first truly Islamist country that will get a nuclear weapon? And we were like, maybe it's Iran. Maybe Pakistan already kind of counts. And then we sort of finally decided maybe it's actually the UK, since Labour just took over. But
Keir Starmer has been called many things, but exciting has never been one of them. For years, he's been saddled with descriptions that would end a lesser career: a human-shaped fog machine, a charisma bypass, a walking, talking embodiment of beige wallpaper. His speeches, delivered with the forensic precision of the top lawyer he once was, often have the emotional resonance of an insurance seminar. They are technically sound, grammatically perfect, and utterly devoid of a human pulse. For a long time, this was dismissed as a purely domestic British problem, a politician simply too cautious, too managed, too boring for his own good. His strategy seemed to be to wait for his opponents to implode while he offered a steady, if uninspiring, alternative. But now, as he stands on the brink of power, his meticulously bland image is being scrutinized on the world stage, and the international reviews are not just brutal, they are catastrophic.
Seeing it now in England where people are getting arrested for tweets.
Yeah.
There's something like 4,000 people have been arrested in England where they've said things online that people find to be a hateful thing or a problematic.
That's what's happening in England right now, isn't it?
They arrested thousands of people for social media posts.
That's crazy. Were they threatening people?
They don't have to be. They don't have to be threatening.
We also know that there have been infringements on free speech that actually affect not just the British. Of course, what the British do in their own country is up.
It was Joe Rogan, a man whose entire brand is built on cutting through nonsense, who voiced the simple, powerful confusion that millions felt but couldn't articulate. Rogan doesn't need to be an expert in the nuances of UK parliamentary procedure to spot a fake. He looked at Keir Starmer and was simply profoundly baffled. He saw a man who seemed to be playing a character but had forgotten to learn his lines. Rogan's bewilderment captured the fundamental problem. If you strip away the teleprompters, the focus group soundbites, and the carefully tailored suits, who is Keir Starmer? What does he actually believe in? Rogan practically burst a blood vessel trying to comprehend how one person could embody both indecisiveness and smug certainty in every single sentence. He saw a politician who looked like he was about to lead a revolution, but only if it was first approved by 3 separate committees, written up in triplicate and guaranteed not to upset the status quo. The question that hung in the air, unspoken but deafening, was simple. How can you lead a country if nobody, perhaps not even you, knows who you are?
Stage, says Starmer. That's what he said. And again, it comes back to this idea, no, Keir Starmer. It put you on the world stage. And that's what you love. You love glad handing with your globalist mates, kissing up to all the massive transnational corporations which are crushing small businesses in this country. This is not about this country. This is putting us, again, giving, and we're getting, it seems, nothing.
Second question. And this is a criticism that's been levelled at you from voters, but also members of your shadow cabinet. Are you too boring to be the next Prime Minister?
Well, let me take that one. The only thing that's boring is opposition. That's what's boring.
Rogan's instinctual distrust wasn't just a hunch, it was a reaction to a pattern of behavior that has defined Starmer's entire political ascent. To win the leadership of the Labour Party, he ran as the chosen heir to the left-wing, socialist-inspired policies of his predecessor, Jeremy Corbyn. He didn't just hint at this continuity, he literally signed his name to 10 key pledges, a sacred pact with the party's base. These weren't minor promises, they were radical commitments: common ownership of rail, mail, energy, and water, an end to tuition fees, a promise not to cut public services. He sold himself as a man of principle, a conviction politician who would carry the torch. But almost as soon as he had the crown, the torch was extinguished and the pledges began to vanish like ghosts at dawn. One by one, they were abandoned, explained away as impractical or outdated. The man who promised to unite the party behind a bold vision was now courting investment bankers in the city of London and writing op-eds for right-leaning newspapers, praising fiscal responsibility and market-based solutions. His supporters called it pragmatism, his critics called it the greatest political bait-and-switch in a generation. He went from waving to striking workers, to writing LinkedIn posts about synergy and growth like a wannabe tech CEO. This history of relentless flip-flopping created the indelible image of a political shapeshifter, a man whose core principles were not written in stone but in disappearing ink on a whiteboard, ready to be wiped clean the moment a focus group returned a negative result. He makes promises the way a toddler makes art, enthusiastically, without context, and with the full knowledge that it's all going in the recycling bin by the end of the day.
This dude in England, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, is literally ruining the country, and the people seem to hate him as well. It's sad because the country used to be great. Such a shame.
London doesn't feel fully English to me anymore. UK leaders should look out for citizens of the UK or subjects or whatever you guys call yourselves. If immigration, non-stop immigration, was the way to create wealth and prosperity and lower home prices, then London would be doing great. And I got to tell you, I was in London last year and it's not doing so good.
But if Joe Rogan was left confused and bewildered by the man, another American powerhouse was outright hostile toward his platform. U.S. Senator J.D. Vance, a man whose entire political identity is built on his hillbilly elegy persona of speaking truth to power, came swinging with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Vance wasn't interested in Starmer's personality or his charisma or lack thereof. He was targeting something far deeper, his ideology. From Vance's populist America First perspective, Starmer's leadership represented a dangerous European drift away from core Western values, particularly on the sacred issues of national identity and freedom of speech. He looked at the UK, a nation with a proud history of liberty, and was horrified to see reports of thousands of citizens being arrested for things they said online. He saw a culture of thought crime taking hold, where a single tweet could lead to a knock on the door from the police. To J.D. Vance, Keir Starmer wasn't just a boring technocrat. He was the smiling, respectable face of an insidious new form of authoritarianism. He saw London, a city he said no longer felt fully English, as a cautionary tale of what happens when leaders prioritize globalist agendas over the interests of their own citizens.
Is freedom of speech dead in this country?
I'm not across the details of the particular case, but let me give you the principles that I would apply. Firstly, I'm strongly in favour of free speech. We've had free speech in this country for a very, very long time, and we protect it fiercely. I'm equally, though, against incitement to violence against other people. That has long been an offence in our country, and rightly so. And so I say, don't know the details of this case, but free speech, yes. Incitement to violence, no.
And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizen suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, Free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
And this wasn't just political theater or a podcast rant. This was deadly serious. Vance drew a firm and shocking red line that sent tremors through the entire British political establishment. He publicly and repeatedly stated that a future US-UK trade deal, a cornerstone of post-Brexit Britain's entire economic strategy, could be blocked by him and his allies in the Senate unless the UK repealed its controversial hate speech laws. Suddenly, the abstract critique of Keir Starmer had immediate, tangible, and severe real-world consequences. His perceived weakness on the principle of free speech wasn't just a talking point for commentators anymore. It was now a major obstacle to a vital international partnership. An American senator was effectively holding a future prime minister's economic plans hostage, creating an unprecedented diplomatic challenge before Starmer had even set foot in number 10. The message was clear: your ideology has a price, and America is not willing to pay it.
JD Vance is putting the pressure on Keir Starmer again. Thank God for JD Vance. He says that Keir Starmer must repeal hate speech laws in order to get a trade deal. He says there's a good chance of an agreement, but sources say his concerns over Starmer's attack on free speech is still a red line. I hope that red line stays there firmly.
Trump administration is troubled by reports that some foreign governments are considering tightening the screws on U.S. tech companies with international footprints. Now, America cannot and will not accept that, and we think it's a terrible mistake, not just for the United States of America, but for your own country.
This leads us to the ultimate, most brutal, and distinctly modern label that has been permanently attached to Keir Starmer: that he possesses non-player character energy. In the vast world of video games, an NPC is a background figure, a digital puppet designed to populate the world. They repeat pre-programmed lines, walk in predictable loops, and have no independent thought or agency. The insult is so devastating because it perfectly and cruelly encapsulates every single criticism leveled against him. The robotic delivery, the cautious language, the policy flip-flops, the desperate need for consensus. It all points to a leader who appears to be reacting based on a script written by pollsters and PR advisors, rather than leading from a place of genuine, heartfelt belief. He's not the main character driving the story of his nation forward. He is the background character, hoping not to get in the way. He shouts about consensus every time he loses his balance, which is often. Watching him try to articulate a clear position is like watching someone play political twister with a blindfold, 3 left feet, and a crippling fear of touching anything red.
You know what he's got, Andrew? He's got non-player character energy. Do you know what that means?
No.
NPC. Unfortunately, his NPC is non-player character. Main player character is your charismatic leader with loads of riz. He's not got that.
He's a charisma bypass.
In an age of crisis with inflation spiraling, a healthcare system on life support, and a housing market that feels like a cruel joke, Britain is screaming for urgency. And what does Keir Starmer bring to the table? The emotional intensity of a damp sock. His response to every major issue is so sterile it could be used to disinfect surgical tools. While the country burns, Starmer offers to host a constructive dialogue on fire safety, tentatively scheduled for the next quarter after consulting all relevant stakeholders. He doesn't confront problems, he schedules them for a meeting. He doesn't challenge the establishment, he writes it a polite memo, CCs the press office, and then hides behind a curtain woven from conditional statements and legal disclaimers. This isn't leadership, this is a crisis helpline manned by someone who answers every desperate call with, that is tricky. Let's form a task force and revisit that next fiscal year. In the end, the verbal evisceration from Joe Rogan and JD Vance was so powerful because it came from 2 entirely different angles that converged on the same damning conclusion. Rogan, the People's podcaster, questioned the man's soul, asking if there was anything real or authentic hiding beneath the polished, empty surface. Vance, the populist senator, attacked the man's platform, warning the world that his supposedly moderate ideas could have catastrophic consequences for his country's freedom and its economic future. Keir Starmer walked into the global political coliseum armed with nothing but a checklist, a focus group report, and a vague sense of moderation, and was verbally mauled by 2 commentators who weren't even trying that hard. The ultimate question is no longer whether Keir Starmer is boring. The question is whether a great nation is about to willingly hand the keys of power to a man who represents everything and therefore stands for nothing at all. What happens to a country in desperate need of a leader when a human screensaver is put in charge?